We begin this journey to one of the biggest cities in the world from the nearby colonial city of Queretaro. And as you saw in the series about Queretaro, this city is full of color, stunning plazas, and beautiful historic architecture. Not to mention a lot of energy and many rustic, artistic coffee shops and restaurants. To top it off, I was witness to an amazing presentation of high-quality coffee in a beautiful coffee shop, as well as the opportunity to have one of the most iconic dishes in Mexico. After this wonderful meal, I headed back to the Queretaro bus station to start this epic journey to Mexico's massive and stunningly beautiful capital. And on the way to the bus station, we used the ever-expanding freeway system of Queretaro and also passed by the city's newer southern downtown. We finally arrived to Queretaro's beautiful bus station.
Now it's time to board, guys. We're going on Primera Plus to go to Mexico City, which should be about 3 to 4 hours depending on traffic. And apparently, to board, to go to Mexico City, you have to go through an actual security check. Not for the other parts, but mainly for Mexico City.
Mexico City has 4 bus stations because of its sheer size. And because Querétaro is to the north of Mexico City, we will be arriving to the northern station. Primera Plus is one of the most luxurious bus lines in the country that give you onboard entertainment as well as a lot of space and legroom. And then we were on our way getting onto one of the main north and south freeways in Mexico that feeds straight in to the capital. And as we start to exit Querétaro along this highway, we run into one of the most affluent parts of the city, as can be seen with the sizable homes and the fancy apartment buildings. This highway is arguably the most important route in the country as it connects the massive capital to the industrial hub of Monterrey and on to the booming state of Texas, as well as most of the rest of the US. So naturally, you can expect to see a lot of trucks on this route moving industrial product. And all this growth along this route has called for a lot of freeway expansions. And this growth comes in many forms, such as this master plan community that you see here in the distance, which are somewhat similar to those that you see in the US, except in Mexico, they're built more like townhomes with less yard and are generally built with block instead of wood. And then slowly but surely, these developments give way to the greener countryside. And keep in mind that this material was recorded in the greener summer months where many parts of the country receive majority of their rainfall during the monsoon season. Furthermore, as a general rule, you run into more vegetation as you go further south into the country, deeper into the tropical zone.
As you can see, guys, we have industrial park after industrial park. This city is also experiencing the same industrial boom that you see in the north. Like in Monterrey, it's become kind of like the new mini Monterrey.
We reach one of the many toll booths you find all over Mexico, so traveling along the freeways between the cities in this country can get quite expensive. As we get close to Mexico City, we enter the volcanic zone that straddles central and southern Mexico. And this is why we will start to see many conicular-shaped mountains that might be dormant, extinct, or even active volcanoes. Not only do we see these smaller volcanoes dotting the landscape, but this zone also happens to be home to the biggest volcano in all of North America, which is Pico de Orizaba, or Citlaltépetl, at over 18,000 feet. Aside from getting greener as we go further south, the terrain also becomes more rugged as we get closer to the continental plate boundary that is responsible for so many earthquakes in this country. At this point, we reach the very beginning of the Mexico City metro area and exit onto a freeway that skirts the very outer edge. And of course, we enter this freeway with another toll booth. As you will see, they have been doing a lot of work on this freeway in preparation for the opening of a massive new airport that they are using now for a lot of international flights for this mega city. Here you can see one of the recent expansions of this freeway in the form of a very extensive second level, which is also probably toll. And here we transition onto one of the main north and south highways that will take us into the city. And of course, starting with another massive toll booth. As we enter the northern suburbs of the metro area, we run into the Cablebus system, which is essentially the northern extension of the metro system, designed more like a ski lift to be able to serve a lot of the underserved areas in the hills, which quite often are lower income areas. But don't underestimate the soul in these areas. As you can see, the Cablebus lines are connected to other modes of transportation in the city, such as this Metrobus line in the middle of the highway, which is basically a BRT line, so that people can make their connections seamlessly on the way to work. This is one of the largest urban cable bus networks in the world and is supposedly the largest in all of Latin America.
This is a low-income zone, but what the city has done, what I've heard, is that people have either received paint for free or at a low cost to paint their homes to give a little bit more aesthetic appeal to the areas that are otherwise very impoverished, which is a good idea. At least it gives it a little bit of a look.
We continue to enjoy views of the Cablebus system, and as we drive deeper into the city, it starts to rain because of the onset of the monsoon season. We finally arrived to the northern bus station, which, just like the city, is quite massive. So imagine having 4 of these in this city.
City, you definitely feel the population. The minute you walk in, tons of people. That's one of the things I love about this city. Never feel bored.
And just like many big bus stations as well as airports, this place is filled with many shops and restaurants of many different types of food. Despite all the options, I did want to start my first meal in Mexico City with something that is more authentic to the city. And being that I was going to eat once I arrived at my hotel anyways, I wanted to grab something small and quick. And what I decided to get were tacos de canasta, a local favorite, which are basically very inexpensive and oily tacos that honestly are quite tasty. At around 10 pesos each, which is roughly 50 to 70 cents depending on the exchange rate, I got myself chicharron tacos, also tacos de papa, which is basically mashed potatoes, adobo, which is pork, and frijol, which is bean. After this, it was time to start heading to the hotel by purchasing the ticket for the taxi.
Security purposes, they make you purchase the ticket ahead of time, which is actually a good idea that way. A, for safety, and B, just so you don't get ripped off. Pretty much in dead center in the middle of Mexico City by the Angel of Independence. This is how much it is from this station. Just in time to have to wait. It's going to be a while, looks like. These are all the stalls to wait for taxi.
And we were finally on our way to the financial district of the city, where you have the Angel of Independence, which is roughly 5 miles away. Finally, I make it to the hotel.
I've arrived at my hotel, which is actually an old apartment building that they renovated to turn into basically little suites. It was an interesting remote check-in. Just everything digital online. You're starting to have a lot of these type of places in Mexico City because, of course, you have a lot of high-rise buildings here. Pretty nice place. Nice to have a little apartment. I got this at a pretty good deal. It was in the 60s with tax and everything, almost 80 per night. To me, I feel like this is a very good deal, especially the location. It's clean, it's big, and that's what I love about Mexico City. There are so many options here that they compete with each other. And generally, the further deep you go into Mexico, it does get a lot cheaper, because something like this would probably cost twice the amount in Monterrey, and in the US even more. The actual main bathroom in the master bedroom, well, the only bedroom actually. So this is the master bathroom essentially. Very nice, very clean.
It was time to hit the town and get something to eat, and I was very excited because Mexico City is a city that is known for its culinary excellence.
Just left my hotel, I'm gonna get something to eat. This is a Mexico City summer. And this is how it is often. It's the monsoon season. So it actually cools down to a point where it actually feels cool. I'm right at that border, I still feel comfortable, but if it gets any cooler, I'm gonna start to feel uncomfortable. But it's quite nice change from the heat of Texas. And this is what I love about Mexico City. You come out, you just see life everywhere. Something going on. A lot of restaurants, a lot of bars, a lot of stores. This is it, guys. A lot of beautiful restaurants in this city, guys. I mean, we're on the Cuauhtemoc colony, which is pretty much right behind the Angel of Independence.
After a little bit of walking, I finally arrive at Paseo Reforma, which is essentially the Champs-Élysées of Mexico. This magnificent boulevard is full of so many things such as hotels, restaurants, shops of so many different types, and even many monuments. This is also a place where you get to see Mexico City's famous two-story buses, which more often than not are quite full. And most importantly, on Reforma, you see what is arguably the most important and the most famous monument in all of Mexico, and that is the Angel of Independence. With so much to offer, this boulevard deserves its own episode where I will go into much more detail, so stay tuned. Being that the next day is a long day of discovery, I decide to cut my night short with a quick drink at one of the many artistic bars in the area, as well as have a meal from one of the most iconic restaurants in Mexico City that I will dedicate another episode to. And the next day of discovery will involve one of the most impressive archaeological sites in the world that contains one of the biggest pyramids globally. The quick ride to this place was just as enjoyable as the destination. This experience alone makes it worthwhile to visit Mexico City, or CDMX as they call it. So stay tuned for the next very exciting episode.